Welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast. The #1 show to bring you all things Club America in English.
Oh, what a strike! Club America!
Your hosts for today are Ivan Pineda, Cristian Rosendo, Alexis Juarez, and everyone's favorite cowboy, Dylan Jimenez. Goal! Now let's hit the field and start the show.
America!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Eagle Eye Podcast. We got plenty to talk about. We're going to be recapping that 2-0 victory America had at home against Pachuca. We have a house to go by for another week. Christian will let us know we should bet the house on Wednesday. And then, of course, we're going to be previewing the Xolos game as we do have a doble jornada this week and everything in between in this episode. But as always, let me introduce my co-host. It is Christian. It's New York's favorite resident, Christian Rosendo, and Brooklyn's very own AJ. Christian, first of all, I want to start off with you. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, Ivan. Thank you. I hope you're doing fine as well. Definitely a very exciting podcast we have today. Coming off a good win against Pachuca, and definitely looking forward to the game against Xolos tomorrow.
Definitely. AJ, how are you, my friend, over in Brooklyn? I've heard good things about those Pilates. I've heard you're getting the gains. A lot of people are saying that you're a very young Arnold Schwarzenegger over there. How's it going?
Man, I wish, but no, everything's going good. Had Pilates on Monday, and then I had aerobic train today. I'm slowly seeing progress, so that's good. It's good things to hear, and then just college stuff, the usual, really. But excited to talk everything about Club America today.
Definitely. And today, gentlemen, we're not alone. We are joined by a very special guest, someone returning to the podcast, a very good friend of ours. It is none other than Mr. Cesar Hernandez himself. Cesar, welcome back to the podcast.
You know, if I remember correctly, you sent me a text and you're like, listen, there's just too many like East Coast based people. So I know you're on the West Coast. Just to kind of like balance things out. I think that's what you sent me in the text. You're just like, you know, there's too much like a New York situation going on over here. It's the same thing with whatever is going on with the Chivas del Norte. Like for some odd reason, there's like a strong New York influence. So we're just, bringing it back to the West Coast. I think that's why you brought me on, right? No, I'm just
Definitely.
Thanks guys for having me on. Thanks for having me on.
That's roughly the premises of what I was going by. It had nothing to do with your Xolos knowledge at all. But no, definitely glad to have you on. It's always great to have you. Like I said, we're going to be talking Xolos with you. We're also going to pick your brain a little bit as to what you thought against this Pachuca versus America game that I'm sure were attentive to, and should be an interesting one. So, gentlemen, let's start off right there. America played and host Pachuca at home on Saturday with a 2-0 victory. Some people saying it was the best 45 minutes under the Solari era we've seen. So it looked like it was a very good, promising game. We got some pretty good, important points to get us back on track after what happened against Atlas, and just overall thoughts in general after the final whistle blew. Christian, we get a good result. We get a clean sheet as well. What's your overall takeaway from this?
First of all, I just want to say it was a good bounce back game after the little situation we had with Atlas. I think it was important for us to kind of go out there and show everyone that, something like that doesn't, affect the morale and the confidence that the team was gaining prior to the match. In terms of the gameplay overall, I thought, like you said, Ivan, I think it was one of probably the best 45 minutes we played under the Solari in the first half. The second half, it seemed like we went a little bit flat. That's something that we have to correct going forward because, to beat better opposition, you have to go strong the full 90, not just 45. But definitely I'm seeing more progress in terms of us gaining more creativity going forward and more organized attack, which I think is what Solari wants. So definitely saw a little bit of that on Saturday and hope to see it more tomorrow against Xolos.
Definitely. AJ, your thoughts overall and with this result?
It reminded me of the Atletico San Luis, just seeing that how this team was really hungry for goals. Every opportunity they could get, they would take their shot. And seeing from this, when I look at stats, 18 shots compared to Pachuca 6. So just completely right from just looking at that. America were having shots left and right, and it's good things to see. In the first half, one of the best first half, as you mentioned, one of the best first halves in the Solari era. That reaches Sanchez golazo. My goodness gracious, that was amazing. And Ustari, I'm gonna say, I don't know what the medical staff was thinking into keeping a man like that to play. At that point, I'm like, let me take your spot instead. I'd sub him out immediately. I'm like, you're not playing, but hey, that's their loss. And then it took us a while for us to score a second goal. To score the second goal. Well, actually, come think of it, it was pretty, but it was one of the easiest goals Pedro Aquino would probably ever get in an America jersey. Just a great cross from Richard Sanchez to Pedro Aquino to head it home to make it 2-0. And from there on, everything seemed really comfortable. Pachuca, at any point in the game, really did not look scary at all. If anything, to summarize how Pachuca played, Roberto de la Rosa tried to do a cross. He ended up just falling on the floor completely. And I'm like, that summarized Pachuca like their entire season so far. So...
Yeah,
but,
it definitely was. No, go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh, but overall, just really satisfied as a result. The only bad thing, Richard Sanchez got a red card, it was really silly. At first, I thought it wasn't intentional, but then just see how he ended up having to step on the player's ankle. I'm like, there's not much you can do there, but that's the only negative, really.
That's a trifecta, right? Goal, assist,
Goal,
and then a red card. Right there for Richard Sanchez.
There you go. What a
You got
guy.
the hat trick. You got the hat trick.
Let's go.
Cesar, I'm curious to hear from you, your perspective
Yeah.
on this game. Was it a very convincing America, or was it a very poor Pachuca side? What did you take away from this?
It was both. I think it was 100% both. Like I know you guys have watched more America than I have so far this season, but that was definitely, a very, very convincing performance from them. But at the same time, I didn't really have high expectations for Pachuca. I mean, honestly, I'm surprised that they haven't dropped their manager already, because this wasn't their Pachuca's first bad performance of the season. They've been abysmal, like really, really awful. And I think some of that probably has to do with, I don't like putting the blame on just one player, but, Mauro Quiroga should really be, have a much bigger influence in the final third for Pachuca. But at the same time, it's also really telling for them. Not only, De La Rosa having a questionable moment there in the game, but also the fact that they didn't finish without they didn't have a single shot on target in that game. I think a lot of that, yes, you have to give, America credit for doing that, but at the same time, just Pachuca just couldn't capitalize on the opportunities that they had. So I think it's a little bit of both. I think, I think Pachuca have been terrible. I think, and we'll see what happens with the manager Pesolano. Maybe they'll just stick with Pesolano for the rest of the season. But for America, I feel like this is another step forward for them for what has been, what I imagined for you guys to be good, but probably not the most exciting season. I don't know how you guys feel, but I imagine this is like another example of America getting a result where you're like, cool, this is what America fans want, but maybe they expect more. And I don't know if that's how you feel. Maybe because you want to get against a side like Pachuca, maybe like a 3-0 win or a 4-0 win. But overall, I've been pretty impressed by Solari. I think he's done a decent job so far, but it's just interesting discussing that in the context of America, because as opposed to other Liga MX teams, I feel the other Liga MX teams are just like thinking, wow, incredible start, let's go Solari. But with America, I imagine all of you feel as if the team is capable of doing more, but I don't know how you guys feel.
I think you put it perfectly, Cesar. I think that actually kind of summarizes this whole season as a whole under Solari. We've gotten results, but yet we still want to see more because we know that this team can deliver more. And gentlemen, I want to allude a little bit to something what Cesar just mentioned. Pachuca had no shots on target. There was an off night for Memo Ochoa. Could have just called it in. Had Oscar Jimenez, and nothing would have changed at all. Let's as much as I want to give praise to the defense, I think I want to come back and maybe criticize a little bit more of our offensive attacking side of things on Saturday. I think that we were, AJ, how many shots did we register? I think you said 18, correct?
18 shots.
So 18 shots, and we were only able to get 2 goals out of this. Again, it alludes to what you were saying, Christian. I felt like it was a very flat performance in the second half. I think it were pretty much on cruise control at that point. And we had some chances, but we just weren't clinical. And is that something that we should continuously maybe start looking forward to? Because I know we've mentioned it in the past, is we keep getting these 1-0 results, these 2-0 results, it's small margins, against oppositions that we should be, no discredit to them, maybe blowing them out of the ballpark from time to time. I mean, I just your take on maybe our lack of finishing up top.
Yeah, and it's kind of been the story I guess people have been running with, and us being the most offensive team last year compared to this year, it's definitely been below standards. But I think it's just all part due to like a transitional phase that we're going through. New coach, new ideas, new ways of approaching the attack, and players maybe still not getting the idea. But as each game passes, you are starting to see the players kind of gravitate more to the idea and how Solari wants to play, and just returning players are only going to make that easier for him, I think. So I think we give it a little bit more time to see the 4-0s and the 3-0s come. But for right now, I think Saturday was a good step in the right direction.
No, yeah, I think you're right, but I think there's something too that we have to take away from this, because I know every Tudene loves to put this on blast whenever they do talk about it, is that under Piojo we were the best attacking team and we had all these goals, and now under Solari it's like we don't we don't really have that. But I do think what we do have with Solari, and I think we've mentioned it time and time again, is a solid defense. I mean, when's the last time we've given this much praise to Manuel Aguilera? I mean, never. I don't think we've ever been that fond of him. And so the fact that he's shutting teams out, and with the helps of Cáceres and the whole defense actually playing their part, I think that's an important thing to take away as well.
I thought Aguilera, even when he was with Xolos, when was it Piojo who took him? I was like, oh, all right, yeah. It's like it wasn't that exciting of a. I didn't think that was the most exciting player that they brought over from the team. So I've actually been. I guess I've been impressed. I mean, I imagine he's probably not your guys' favorite player, but
Definitely
I imagine
not, no.
that, yeah, but he seems to be getting consistent minutes. And this is I thought that once Piojo was gone, I was like, all right, well maybe a new manager would find a new option, but yeah, he's still there, so I guess he's been doing all right. I'm not saying he was bad in Tijuana. I was just saying that just like I don't know. I was a little more excited when Mauro Lainez left for America. Left a lot more excited for Guido Rodriguez, incredible player. But Emanuel Aguilera was like, all right, decent defender.
And I think that's what we all capped him at was decent. But he's definitely he's surpassed expectations this season so far. And I think we've mentioned it, AJ, because he's playing for that contract.
He's playing for that contract. That's one thing. And then two, I think it's a starting spot, really, because remember, Bruno Valls will be coming back from injury soon.
Yeah.
And then the question wonders, is it going to be him and Sebas, or is it going to be Sebas and Bruno? And that's the thing what I feel like what most people are going to consider. They want Bruno Valdez and Sebas as well. But at the same time, then you're thinking, Emma, one of the qualities he does have, if it comes to free kicks or penalty, he's kind of like your go-to guy at this point. He has 20 goals with America compared to his 0 in Tijuana, which it could just maybe just he wasn't once to maybe take the free kicks and penalties because Tijuana had other players in this time. So that's like a benefit that what Emma brings into this America side.
Also, their past chemistry together,
Mm-hmm.
They've won a title. So
there you go. We won it with them. So there's that. Think about when people think it's bad. It's like we won it with this guy in defense. So just some food for thought, pretty much.
Yeah, most definitely. That's a good point.
Yeah, no. But I mean, overall, you're right, Christian. I think it's a positive result, especially the bounce back that we needed to have against what happened with Atlas throughout the week, and then for the team to come out, give the result that they did. I think pretty much, mostly everyone that played had a good game. At least a really good first 45 minutes. I mean, Pedro Aquino getting his goal finally. Alvaro Fidalgo, which I know you praised him very much as well, Christian. I think he definitely was very keen on making things happen for America. I think if you go back and you look at his stats, 100% pass accuracy, that's hard to do in any league and in any level. So
especially as an attack-minded player, because I feel like sometimes when go on like SofaScore and I look at some of the stats, like it's not out of the ordinary to see a defensive player have like really high like accuracy when it comes to passing. But what was he playing? He was playing as a cam, a second striker, probably number 10, and that role that he was playing to have I think it was 43 out of 43, or it was something along those lines. Like that's pretty impressive. That's a reason why Solari brought him over. And apparently having a quick impact. So that's I think that's really promising.
No, definitely. And I mean, it speaks to what you were saying last week, Christian. We were having a little debate. Well, I guess we didn't really get to have it because of the whole Atlas situation, right? But
Oh
maybe
yeah, true.
what we were having off air
Definitely.
came to fruition. And so let's just hope he continues to adapt well.
Of course, definitely.
And we'll see what he's able to bring. I think this game against Xolos is going to be an interesting one. So we'll see what happens and what he's capable of doing. I mean, but overall, a good result for America. 3 points, and you can just kind of continue the season going, right? And you know that the oppositions are going to get tougher and tougher. And so getting these results under your belt is definitely a positive thing going forward. Anything else you guys want to add on before we kind of just wrap up this America Pachuca game?
The only real bad thing is what people mentioned. They said the second bad thing, they took out Fidalgo for Chucho Lopez. I'm like, damn, they just my boy like that. They just my boy. But that's pretty much it.
Well, we'll move on, but I just want to read Chris Rivera saying, I would love to see Fidalgo to shoot at goal more, which I think he will. Yeah, he's building up to that. Definitely is.
Remember, this is only his third game as a first division baller. He's only played second division his whole career in one game of Copa del Rey with Real Madrid. So for a guy like that to come over to the biggest team in Mexico and to give 2 performances like that, it's definitely good early showings.
He's what, 22, 23? He's still fairly young.
He's still
right?
fairly young, yes. I want to say 23, yeah.
Everybody loves to talk about the Real Madrid, like connection there, but then you look at his actual playing time, you're like, oh, he spent not saying nothing against the second division in Spain, but that's where he came from recently. So yeah, I feel like got to be patient with him. Looks like there's some potential there. And obviously, he's a special player, but yeah, patience.
Definitely. Patience has to be, a virtue for America at this point, because I don't think we have any other option. So we'll have to definitely wait and see. But Cesar, I would like you to maybe talk a little bit more. You are here to help us preview against the Xolos match. How did they do against Monterrey in their last matchup?
I thought they did all right. I think Xolos have a tendency to really struggle in their away games. It's something that's kind of become, and I know it's not atypical for teams to struggle when they go like away from home, but when you really dive into their stats, when you really look at some of the results, like they really do truly struggle in recent years. And I should say, perhaps even for the entirety of their the history of their team, do really have a difficult time when it comes to games away from home. So I think that I think they should be praised for their 1-1 draw with Rayados. I mean, despite the fact that they allowed an early goal, I thought that they did all right in that first half, and they fought their way to that, that away draw. And I think I think that's still a step forward for Tijuana after what we've seen last season. We've seen some improvements from them after what we saw last season, and it seems like their manager Pablo Guede, I think he just needed a little bit of time. There were rumors that maybe he was going to get dropped last season. Maybe they're going to, if he didn't win the Copa MX against, actually it just happened to be against Rayados. If he didn't get the win there, he'd potentially be fired. But I'm really glad that they stuck with him. And you can see some of his ideas, some of his tactics really following through. And you saw that in the draw with Rayados. Once again, it's not a win. It's not the most impressive performance. It wasn't the most exciting game either. I'm not going to pretend as if it was an exciting game. It was definitely one of those games where you can you're looking towards Twitter a little bit more. You're like, maybe let's see what's going on in the rest of the soccer world. Like, I'm not going to lie. That's definitely what happened, but it's still promising for them. And I think it's really, really interesting because when it comes to Xolos and what I've seen in recent weeks, I don't know, a question I have is that, I think they've done enough to get to be a playoff worthy caliber team. I'm not just saying, a team that can qualify in the top 12. I'm just saying if there's a regular season, I think they'd be capable of being a top 8 team. But now in this difficult run, when they narrowly lost to Tigres, when they got a draw against Rayados, or they're now going to be taking on America, my question for me, what I want to find out is if they're truly capable of keeping up with some elite Liga MX teams. So honestly, I'm not sure. I think this will be a big test for them. I think we've seen a little bit of, good and bad things in recent weeks, but I think at the very least they're going to be competitive. And I think that they did have some of their starters against Rayados on the bench, and they didn't bring them on until the second half. So I think that you'll probably see my guess is that you'll probably see something closer to Xolos' best 11 tomorrow, as opposed to over the weekend where you had maybe 4 or 5. I shouldn't say 4 or 5. Maybe 2 to 4 starters on the bench.
Okay, nice, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, definitely going to be talking more about in regards to all of that in just a moment, and when we start previewing the game for tomorrow, which I think you're looking forward to it as a big test for them, and we're looking forward to it as well as a big test for us as well on the road. I don't think we've had the best kind of results. And
I mean, you've seen that live, Ivan. Yeah.
And I've seen it live. It's an amazing show. I will say that much. That you never know what you're gonna get at those halftime.
Are they allowing fans there or no?
No, that's
not
right
yet?
now. No.
The
because,
only two teams, I think it's Necaxa and Mazatlan, aren't they? Are those the only two?
Juarez recently announced that they're going to potentially allow some home fans. I think this week.
And for the Clásico.
And then Chivas said that they're going to. There's reports. Chivas haven't officially announced that they're going to allow anyone just yet, but there are some reports that Chivas are going to allow some fans for the Clásico. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
But as for Tijuana, it's I think the numbers are still pretty bad. In the region, so we'll see what the stoplight whatever says.
Right. It was just very interesting how they do the whole stoplight situation.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. For us here in the States, it's more like colors, right? It's like, well, if you're like on purple or orange, whatever.
I think that's more of a California thing, to be honest.
Really? Yeah, because we don't really get that over here.
That's a California thing.
Yeah. Now they said that they look very confused once I said purple and orange. They're like, "What's going on?" Well, I guess everyone's got
politics chat, but Trump was basically like, "You guys figure it out." So in California's like, colors, and then other states like, "I don't know, state by state."
Yeah, no, but well, we'll see about this whole. But yes, if once everything gets lifted and you guys have a chance to go check out a Xolos versus America game, do so. It is, I mean, Cesar can attest to it. It's quite the atmosphere.
And especially since, we don't have to go into this tangent, but just like it's fascinating because of the proximity, obviously, to the U.S. When it comes to Xolos games, and also because I've talked with staff from Xolos, and they tell me that consistently it's about, on average, about 35% of fans and Xolos games are from the U.S. So because that, when it comes to the bigger teams, when it comes to America, when it comes to Chivas, when it comes to Pumas, I would say it's about 50-50 in the stands, if not, especially with those Chivas America games. I'm tempted to say it's even more like 60-40 in favor of
the visiting team.
Yeah.
Really?
So it's always a lot of fun too. Yeah, I know. It's just, and especially for a lot of those fans from the U.S. side where they don't traditionally get a lot of opportunities to see their favorite team, so it's a big deal to see America or Chivas. So those fans definitely make it more of an outing, So yeah, if anybody's, can't go to the game that obviously tomorrow at any point in the near future, but once things are back to normal, we're all vaccinated,
Mm-hmm.
We'll all be there at the tailgates.
Yeah, tailgate's a good time too. Yeah,
tailgate's always a good time. It's always fun. But yeah, if you guys have the chance.
So that's my preview for Xolos versus America. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. Thank you. Good night, guys. No, it's awesome. But we'll get to that a little bit in the episode. Right now, we're gonna go through club news and everything. But before that, I do want to remind everyone that today's episode is brought to you guys by Foot Cult. And if you guys haven't done so already, make sure you guys go check out Foot Cult over on Twitter and Instagram. Follow them and make sure you guys check them out at footcult.com. Got some amazing drops that they just announced. And gentlemen, there's a potential new retro goalkeeper jersey out there floating around. So if you guys haven't seen the tweets already, make sure you guys go check them out, and we might have a little something of a special drop coming your guys' way. So again, go check Foot Cult out, and we'll keep you guys up to date. But again, thank you to our sponsors, Foot Cult. If you guys like any of their products, you guys can use the discount code EEP at checkout to get 10% off. Again, that is discount code EEP at checkout to get 10% off. All right, Coapa news. Christian, you're going to fill us all in what's going on in and around the world of Coapa. Injury news, Bruno Valdez, is he going to be back for Xolos? Probably not. But,
probably not, no. You're right, he's
not. But anything in and around, I know that we've had a bit of drama within former coaches and players and everything going on and around that. And then of course we have the big news that happened last week, which was America playing against Monterrey in a friendly in Dallas for this upcoming month on March 27th. You'll have more details on that. So talk to us more about what's going on in and around Coapa.
Definitely. So that's obviously the biggest news right here. March 27th, they're coming to Dallas. But like Ivan said, we'll have more details on that in the upcoming podcast. So stay tuned for that. In terms of injury, Bruno Valdez is set to come back, not this week, not next game, but hopefully he can get some minutes this weekend with the under 20s, and then hopefully he can feature on the bench for the following week. So definitely looking forward to Bruno Valdez's return. Definitely going to strengthen our defense just a little bit more. So definitely looking forward to that. And in terms of the game tomorrow, it is confirmed that Giovanni Dos Santos will not make the trip to Tijuana. He is having some muscular issues. And this kind of just exaggerated
with everything,
exaggerate everyone in the Twitter world. And then Piojo came out and saying that it's nothing new, that I brought Gio over because of his talent, but his injury is just messed with everything, and it turns to this big thing. And I don't know. It's interesting to hear both of your guys' opinion on this. Why is Piojo still doing this?
Because he wants to stay relevant, because he doesn't have a job. He's just staying at home doing absolutely nothing except probably sending videos to his fans who want to buy him for a gree or whatever. So I don't understand what this man just. He's trying to stay relevant. It's just, I don't know. It's like trying to get out. It's like kind of remember this one mouse in the house that just would not leave. You're doing everything to your ability to finally get it and then get it out. It's like, nah, I'm not leaving.
Someone watched the new Tom and Jerry movie.
I need to actually. So,
it's kind of like what I mentioned when he kept saying stuff in and around the press once he got let go. It's kind of like the very toxic relationship. Like he's the very toxic ex that will bring anything up. Look, at this point, we just gotta ignore it. And he's doing this for himself. And I'm sure this will all kind of water down the road. And a year from now, we won't even be remembering any of this. So. It's interesting. I don't know what you think, Cesar, because he
I'm just wondering, is he still doing his remember when he promised and he was like, amigos con amigas, I'll be doing my yes. Weekly recap. So if you want to watch, tune in, blah blah blah, and clear I don't know what unpaid intern was recording that, but did he ever actually follow through with that? Did he actually end up
He didn't know.
I don't see any videos of him recapping anything, so I'm gonna go with no. He just didn't keep his promise to it.
Because actually, how amazing would that be? Because that would have been hugely entertaining. Him just he'd probably have some sort of terrible slideshow. He'd probably have printed out stat sheets. He'd be holding up in front of the camera. I would have loved to have seen it, but I'm guessing he didn't actually follow through with that. Those are all my thoughts about him and the Gio drama.
I can only imagine him criticizing the players of the match. And the manager ends up getting beef with them on tour. He's like, "All right, keep talking your stuff and watch what's gonna happen." Keep talking.
Oh man.
No. But yeah, it's look. I think this will all blow over by the end of the week. And look, we're in that point of the season where I don't think we have the luxury to give,
of course, not
any time at all.
I think at any point in the season, that stuff like that, extracurricular stuff shouldn't be, be taken to the heart or anything like that. You have a season to focus on. You're in the middle of of a new transition with the new coach. You don't have time for any of that stuff, right? So like you said, Ivan, hopefully all of that blows over. But it's nice to see the supports of Ochoa and Bruno Valdez backing Gio.
Yeah, Ochoa and Bruno Valdez backing Gio, not publicly, of course, but they semi-publicly with a retweet, and you know how far a retweet can go nowadays.
Yes, that is true. Yes,
it's interesting.
So that's pretty much it around the news, and hopefully, we have some more news in the coming days.
Definitely. Well, that is the news in and around Coapa. So, gentlemen, let's talk Xolos versus America. It's that point of the season where it's literally crunch time, right? You have Xolos on Wednesday, then you have León, and then you have Chivas. And so, the matches are stacking up. And we mentioned that Pachuca was kind of a pivotal point in the season where we needed to see kind of a Solari imprint finally start blossoming. And we saw that So that's a positive thing to take away from the Pachuca game. And now it's, can we implement it away from home at Xolos? Can we do it at home against Leon again? And then so on and so forth. Because like I mentioned, we have the Clásico Nacional in just, almost a week now, which it's going to be interesting how we come into that one. But first, let's not get ahead of ourselves. And let's focus on this match tomorrow. Xolos will be going off against America Wednesday, March 3rd, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 Central, 10 p.m. Eastern.
Tongue twister.
It's been a long day. It's been a long day. I can't do math right now. But yeah, this one's going to be live on FS1, correct? Or is it going to be on FS2? I don't know. Well, but you can catch it in Spanish on Fox Deportes.
Yes, that's what I'm going to be watching.
Yeah, see, I'm glad. I mean, shout out to all the Fox soccer dudes, because like Keith Costigan, shout out to him. He does an incredible job with commentary, and also to like Adrian Garcia, Perez. And there's a lot of Adrian Garcia Marquez, who does a really good job, and Kobe Jones, and all them. But sometimes you turn into FS2. Sometimes they'll change to FS1, and then they'll change to FS2, and then they'll and then they'll go on and then they're like, and then we're switching this now to like Fox Soccer's like digital thing. They're like, what, dude? Just like what's like, what?
Yeah, that was frustrating.
Why is there a bowling game from their 2016 right now, like on my TV? Like, what's going on? But so I'm kind of glad I got Fubo recently, so I can watch the Deportes and no interruption. So, but honestly, but that's no fault to like Costigan and Kobe Jones and
the commentators they do
a great job.
The network definitely.
I was trying to catch that game on when it was Monterrey versus América. I was curious. I was like, I want to hear what the English commentary sound. That it was on FS2, and I'm like, that's right. I don't have FS2 because I guess my cable provider doesn't have the package with it. So I'm like, okay. So.
Yeah, no, that happens sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit of an
issue. Yeah, it's tricky.
Definitely tricky. Yeah,
that's a world we're not qualified to talk about. Cable providers and contracts of all that stuff.
I don't. Yeah.
That is until Comcast sponsors you guys, and you'll be like, don't forget to watch on
it. Perfect. But yeah, obviously this game's a big one for both teams. I think Xolos are trying to make a stamp of approval, saying that they're very much a team that's trying to be a contender for the playoffs, and then of course America trying to continuously get good results and build something under Solari. So, gentlemen, how does America come into this one? We're coming off some pretty good results. I mean, maybe the Atlas one, makes it not look so great on paper, but overall, form-wise, I think America is looking pretty solid.
No, definitely.
Not all at once.
No, I'm sorry. No, I just didn't know because AJ was moving his head. So I thought he was gonna talk. But no, definitely, it should be a good test for both teams. Of all the reasons mentioned, this is, I think, probably our first true test. No disrespect, obviously, since Santos, and I think we've grown since that game. So I'm very interested to see how Solari takes this on. And it's pretty interesting too, because he did mention in the presser after the Pachuca game that playing Tijuana, we're gonna be playing on artificial grass. So he made sure to mention that. So it makes me wonder if there's any extra preparation going into that. So it's gonna be interesting to see his approach to this game for sure.
Well, I mean, there was already some extra preparation. We saw that the team went and practiced today on artificial grass, which I don't think we technically saw under Piojo.
No, I don't think so.
It's interesting. You could tell that Solari takes this really, really to heart. I mean, we've mentioned about the fact that he practiced at the Azteca. The night before, he makes sure that the players are familiar with the pitch whenever it's a home game, and then now we see with Xolos making sure that the players have at least some idea of what they're going to be playing in regards. I've always wanted to, because all we get here in the States is usually turf. You're blessed if you get to play on grass. So I've always wondered. I wonder what the Xolos turf feels like.
It was terrible. It was awful for years. It was genuinely awful. I've honestly for a long time I've the soccer field that I played on, like in my high school, I honestly think was better than what Xolos were playing on for a long time. But they recently did renovate it. The field is actually the same quality that they use in the NFL. I think it was from the same contractor that Atlanta United and the Falcons use. So it's much better now.
Nice.
So it is. I mean, still, I mean, obviously, I think there are a lot of soccer purists like me and probably like you guys who would prefer that it was on grass.
Definitely.
According to the club, it's kind of like there's like some sort of like hot springs underneath, which is why they can't grow grass, which I don't believe, and I think that's a little weird thing for them to try to save some money. But don't quote me on that. But yeah, but as for the game, I think it's pretty big for both sides. I mean, it's a doble jornada, you know. So I think this could really, you know, make or break, you know, seasons for teams. And although, I mean, you know, you literally have to be, you know, terrible to not qualify for the playoffs. I think for teams like America and Xolos right now, you know, a good run this week. I'm not just saying like through, you know, a week or two, just through literally this week could be the difference between them being in the top 4 or them needing to take part in a wild card spot from 5 to 12. You know, so I think it's very, very crucial for them. I would say that Xolos are looking quite good. I would say that Xolos are going to make this difficult, especially at home. They have they tend to make things quite challenging for a lot of away sides who are, uncomfortable with the turf, who are, a little unsure with, when it comes to the field, or perhaps a little tired when it comes to the trip over to Tijuana. So I think Xolos will definitely make this a competitive match. And that's actually what we've seen from Xolos so far this season. You know, even that loss to Tigres that Xolos had, I mean, they scored 2 goals in the last few minutes, so Xolos did a decent job there. And then even in the recent game against Rayados, they really pushed and were worthy of getting a draw there. So I think it's going to be tough for them against America. I imagine I'm going to give, because it's America, and despite the fact that they're going to be the away team here, I think America are still the favorites, but I don't know. You can't count Xolos out, and especially, the Xolos team from this season who are really buying into the Guede identity, the Guede, system, and we'll see what system that is, because sometimes Guede just wants his players to go all out attack minded for 10 to 15 minutes, and it really catches teams off guard. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that tomorrow, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Interesting. Now, let me ask you a question, actually, if you don't mind. So, in the
that's why I'm here,
games, right? You're right. In the previous games, how have you seen Xolos? Now, you just mentioned that sometimes they like to just play pure attacking football, or do they sometimes kind of just manage the ball and let them be a kind of a protagonist in the match, and just let the other team adjust to them?
I think for the most part, what comes to mind, first off, we're talking tactically. Xolos, they kind of play. It's like call it a 4-3-1-2 or a 4-4-2 diamond, but they'll look to close down spaces real quick. They'll look to be they'll look to be on the front foot. They'll, Guede likes his players to swarm the ball. He likes his players to be attack minded, and I think that's something that's been more. I guess the way I've described in the past is like attack-minded soccer is something that's synonymous with Guede. We saw that with Morelia when they had that really, really impressive run in the playoffs. I guess it was back in 2019, 2020. Everything's such a blur nowadays. But I think what happened last season was that he still tried to play that kind of soccer with Xolos last season, but he just didn't really have the players for it. And then if you look at the stats, if you look at the XG, and if you really dive into it, Xolos actually had a very good XG overall last season. Xolos actually, in theory, with their XG, they should have been a playoff team. They should have been not a title contender, but a team that should have been in the quarterfinals. A team that maybe should have been pushing for the semis. Obviously, that didn't happen. So I think what you've seen this season is Guede realizing, all right, I'll still have my moments where I push the team forward. I still have my moments where I'm telling my fullbacks to really, really make these like deep overlapping runs. Nice. But if they get the lead, if Xolos, or if they have a decent start, or maybe Guede is afraid of his team being a little tired, what he'll tend to do is you'll see now these periods of time in which he'll be okay with them sitting back, which he'll be okay with them being a little more defensive. Nice. I think in the past you've seen some second half performances that have been really, really questionable. I think at the very least, what is a good sign for them is that in their last 2 games, I think they've been better in the second half. But I think he's now not nearly as afraid to sit back, and therefore they're a little bit better defensively. But there's still, I still have my question marks over them, and I still have my questions over them against sides like America, like Tigres, like Rayados. If this was a if this was a Pachuca, yes, easy win. But against these teams, I don't know if Xolos have hit that level yet where
Right.
they can
It's
get.
one of those things you don't want to. It's one of those things you don't want to make it to the tail of two halves kind of thing, because it's like,
Yeah.
how much can Xolos take into all this pressure before they're like, okay, it's wake
Exactly.
up time. Let's score some goals like the Monterrey, because when you were mentioning your stars, in a point of view, it makes sense because you got the doble jornada, so you need to rest up your best players. And when you're coming against a team like America, you want to play with your best team. So I feel like Yeda was taking a risk. He's like, let's see how this so-called second team could play against Rayado's side. It ended up doing them favor because Manotas ended up scoring the goal for them at the very end, the 89th minute. So it's like, that's good. But it's the thing again with Xolos fans. This is this is a way better first 8 games that they had compared to last week, because they were getting blown out the water by like every single team. So, like you mentioned, it's now where they finally now the identity. Like, he knows what he wants with this team. The problem is, like you mentioned, Cesar, he did not have the players. And when I'm looking, the last time they got played, when they got obliterated 4-0, some of those players, you're like, they're no longer there. And compared to what the Xolos team has now, they're looking really sound. Whilst you think they're sitting now in the repechaje spot right now. So for them just to see things like that, it's good. It's good for Xolos. But the same thing, it's like, you don't want to play the risky game where it's like, let's wait one half. If we can't do anything, just sit back, see what can happen. Don't soak up all that pressure, because it's gonna crack. And then at some point, if the opposing side gets the goal, the floodgates can open. And then at that point, Xolos is me in for a tough time trying to figure out, okay, now how do we stop the goal scoring for the other team?
And I will say really quickly, I mean, as much praise I want to give to Gede, because I'm really, really happy that Xolos stuck with Gede. I think he's a manager that should be given an extended period of time and opportunity with a number of Liga MX teams. I will say that there was a little bit of luck in some of their first few games. I mean, Jonathan Orozco in his first few games was incredible. And I want to say in the first 4 to 5 weeks, he was probably my favorite goalkeeper that I was keeping an eye on in the Liga MX season. I think you've had a couple performances where Fidel Martinez, I wouldn't say recently, but I would say there was at least 2 to 3 performances where he just, I don't know, just looked incredibly motivated with just finding the back of the net. Yeah. And I think a lot of teams, they need those lucky moments in their successful seasons. I think that's not out of the ordinary. You need those lucky moments in order, to find a path to the playoffs or towards a championship or whatever. But I think there have been moments where Xolos have relied on Fidel Martinez, on Jonathan Orozco, and I wonder against America if they're going to need Orozco to have a good performance, and if he's going to step up once again, because I'm pretty sure he's going to have a busy night tonight.
Definitely. And
will Naveda score from half field?
Oh yeah.
There you go. Now is Naveda going to get the start? That's right.
Most likely because Sanchez.
I forgot about that. That's right, because Richard Sanchez has the red. That's right. That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
No, but go ahead, Christian. I know you had something else.
Yeah, no, definitely. When Cesar was talking about, the periods of time where Xolos would, likes to attack and likes to be more attack minded, Ivan, me and you have been criticizing America for a very, very slow start. So who's not to say that might be part of Guedes' game plans to come out strong and hit them early, because that's definitely possible. Up until against maybe Pachuca, every single game, America started off very, very slow, and it seemed like the other team was just getting on them, even with 10 men. The opponents looked like they were still playing with 11. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how Gede kind of sees the match and in what periods of times he likes to go out and attack, and let's see if he can strike a goal here or there.
I think more than likely, I mean, we'll see what happens. I think more than likely he's going to try to hit the ground running, especially at home.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to try to have a fluid attack with Sornosa, with Fidel Martinez, Manotas, and others all interchanging through the middle. And then you're going to have, Loroña and Brian Angulo pushing forward. But, I mean, because it is Gede, I think that does mean that you're going to have some opportunities, especially on the flanks, especially if Brian Angulo is going to push a little too far forward and left. Vladimir Loroña is going to push a little too far forward on the right. You might see, some weaknesses in the back line when it comes to either Victor Guzman or Tercero starting in the back line. I mean, a fan of both those defenders, but I think because of their age, they sometimes don't have the most consistent performances, but there will definitely be opportunities for America in this game.
And talking about opportunities, I'm curious as to what your starting 11 is going to be, Christian, and then maybe we'll see where these kind of chances can be created from or where they're going to come from.
Yeah, sure. So, I have Guillermo Ochoa in net, Jorge Sanchez, Manuel Aguilera, Sebas Cáceres, Luis Fuentes as the defense. In the midfield, Pedro Aquino, Santi Naveda, Alvaro Fidalgo. Up top, Cordova, Lainez, and Viñas starting.
Interesting note that you put Viñas on there, and AJ's even making that face. So it makes me have to wonder if
I'm looking at formation. Is 4-3? No,
4-3.
4-3. Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people would question this, like, why give Viñas the start after maybe not having the best of season and, Henry bagging a couple of goals. Why would you slot in the Uruguayan?
For me, most of all, just giving him a chance. I think that this is a game where I think if you want to build confidence for a player, and who's to say Viñas nets a goal here against a really good opponent, that could spell a good problem in a sense. Having a probably your best striker from last season get his confidence back while having another striker who's picking up form. It's definitely all good problems to have, and I think that's what Solari wants. So I think Solari's going to use this as an opportunity for Viñas to get his confidence back.
I like it. AJ?
Everything is good. Just on the Viñas thing, just makes me worry. I know he's needed just given the champ, but just the fact being he hasn't scored since October 4th just scares me a lot. It's like that's not good to what you want to see to start, especially with 4-3. He's gonna get every single through ball, cross, whatever that case may be. It's all up to him to finish the job at that point.
Yeah.
He's been a bit lackluster, but we do see some of that greens that we saw when he first arrived at America, which is good. Remember, the reason Henry Martin even got that goal against who was it? It was the game-winning goal where Viñas got a shot, the ball got deflected, and then Henry scored against Querétaro. Like things like that. Some moments like that would be great to see. If he doesn't score, if anything, he can assist either whoever's going to be right up front for the ball. Just give him that pass and they can score. Build off some confidence though. So it'd be interesting to see what Viñas can do. And I'm also excited to see Fidalgo get another start, and Santi Naveda, considering now everyone's not having the talk after Richard Sanchez has been having a good string of games. Well, 2 games so far. So now let's see if Naveda can actually compete against Richard Sanchez for that spot in midfield.
Imagine the waves of emotion, Naveda, or as AJ was calling him on Saturday, Nevada.
Nevada.
That wasn't me. That was Dylan. I corrected him. I was like, Nevada is staying in the United States. And he's like, Ivan's misspelling is getting on to me. That was you.
It's tough. You look at that name and you immediately think it's like, oh yeah, Nevada. Wait, no, Naveda. Oh yeah, Nevada. No.
If you think that, imagine what Siri thinks when she's auto correcting. But imagine the wave of emotion this kid's going through after watching Richard Sanchez score that goal after taking his starting 11 spot, and then after getting that assist, and you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm never gonna start ever again after this performance, and then you see him get a red card, and you're just like, well, looks like I'm up next week.
Get in.
So
I'm back in. Let's go.
No, but in all seriousness, I think he's going to come out and really look to try to cement his starting spot there, and it should be an interesting one. So, I know you've mentioned a couple of players that you already think are going to be lining up for Xolos, but what is your predicted starting 11 for them?
I think we'll see a much stronger 11 from them this time around. I think there was a reason why Guede dropped some of his starters in the last game. So I think in theory, I think it's supposed to be obviously, Jonathan Orozco net, and it's going to be, once again, it's going to be like a 4-3-1-2, or maybe I just say that to sound fancy, but it's just a 4-4-2 diamond. But it's just Jonathan Orozco net. You're going to have Vladimir Loroña as like the high pressing right back. You're going to have and in the middle of the defense, Guede has switched Gonzalo Jara, or Gonzalo Jara has been in the starting element, but it's been a mixture of Victor Guzman and Tercero going back and forth. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tercero takes Guzman's spot, but it's between either of those two. You're going to have Brian Angulo at left back, and he's definitely going to be somebody to keep an eye on because he almost at time looks like a winger, and he was probably one of Xolos' better players in the last game, so that's someone to keep an eye on. You could probably say David Barbona as the right center mid, Esteban Paves as the defensive midfielder, Christian Rivera as the left center mid, Junior Sornosa as a 10, And then up top, you're going to see more than likely Mauro Manotas and Fidel Martinez taking charge.
Interesting. Very good, strong lineup, and I think a lot of players that you just mentioned that we got to keep our eye on.
Yeah,
So it's definitely it's painting for something really good, And I think Chris Rivera just said, the matchup that everyone's going to be looking for is Angulo versus George Sanchez. I mean, that paints it in itself to be a good, fun matchup down on that right hand side for America.
Although I will say, I think it's going to be easier for. I think Angulo can offer a little bit more because he has a little bit more experience in Vladimir Loroña, and I think the real weak spot for Xolos is going to be, well, I guess on America's left hand side, which is where, I mean, in your ideal starting 11, that'd be Mauro Lainez, right? Who'd be potentially pushing forward there. I don't know if that would be Cordova. I'm not sure who would be right there on the left hand side.
No, it definitely would be Lainez. It'd be Lainez.
Okay, yeah, yes, would be Lainez. Yeah,
but that left hand side is also our weakest side.
It is.
Yeah,
Luis
because you have
Fuentes.
Luis Fuentes there,
Yeah,
who on turf scares me.
but I think the thing is though, with just with Xolos, if America are looking for opportunity, and Mauro Lainez, who has experience playing on this turf and who has experience, with this Xolos side, I mean, you're gonna have Loroño pushing forward, and then more than likely, like I said, it's either gonna be Victor Guzman or Tercero. And as much as I'm a fan of both of them at right center back, and I think both could really develop to be high quality players who could potentially go to Europe, I think at the same time they're still fairly young. And because that they don't put in the most consistent performances, so I think there's going to be some problems there on the right hand side for Xolos, and I guess that'll be for opportunity for Mauro Lainez, who has a lot of experience, going down that field and has no issues with playing on turf. So I think that's something to keep an eye on for America.
Right.
Definitely. And gentlemen, let's be honest. This stadium is never a favorable one for us. We never really come out of this with good results, and usually they're either a draw or sometimes they're defeats. But something feels a little bit different about this one, and I feel like Solari's planted himself to try to get all 3 points because he knows how vital this is. We just mentioned our away form is terrible. Yeah. I mean, he lost against Monterrey, lost against a draw against Santos that should have been a victory, and then you have obviously the Atlas fiasco. So it's not looking good. Also, by the way, a lot of our away games are on Fox. If you guys haven't noticed that this season already.
True.
Oh yeah, there you
Actually,
But he wants to turn that around. I think he knows how vital it is to get points on the road, and not just one, just 1 point here and 1 point there. I think he wants to get all 3, and he wants to inject that into his squad. And I think it has to start away at Xolos, which again is not an easy task whatsoever. But I think we're all excited to finally maybe put this team to the real test, right? Like you mentioned, Christian. No disrespect to anyone who we've played yet, in prior games, but this does feel like an actual test for this side, right? After everything, it looks like we finally have our full squad. I mean, minus the Geo thing, obviously Bruno, we already knew, but we have all kind of everyone available to us, and now it's just fielding out the proper starting 11 and then seeing if we can take the game to Xolos, which I think is exactly what we need to do, Christian. I think we need to match them and match their intensity, toe to toe, and see which team can come out on top. I think Chris mentioned it perfectly. There's a lot of speed in this Cholo squad, and speed scares us a lot because the only fast player we have is probably George Sanchez in that backside, and so we'll have to see how we can counter that. But I'm curious to see what you guys is thinking is for getting the 3 points on Wednesday. How do you think America needs to plant themselves, and then how do you think, or more like who do you think needs to be in charge of kind of orchestrating this America side?
I'm gonna go with Pedro Aquino. I think that he needs to continue his good run of form, manage this Cholo speed, and try to calm the game down when he sees fit. I think Solari feels more comfortable with America on the ball, moving it around a little bit, trying to see where he can nitpick a few things here and there. I think Pedro Aquino needs to get a little bit better in kind of picking out his offensive passes, and trying to break down the line. So definitely look for Pedro Aquino to kind of be a player that I think is going to have the liberties of going forward more than Santi Naveda, and then in that trying to make something happen with Fidalgo and going forward.
Okay, I like it. AJ?
It's just got to be Viñas for me, simply for the fact one thing, he's one of my favorite players in the squad too. He needs that confidence booster. It's been a goal drought. He's not been getting that many opportunities ever since Solari has arrived, and it seems like he's just being forgotten about in the squad. Because to be honest, I feel there's times when people's like, oh, that's right, we have another striker. It's like the same thing with Nico Castillo. Oh, that's right, we have another striker, but he just can't play. And it's just sort of Viñas. I feel like he's also just starting to lose that confidence, and it's just a name. Remember when everyone's starting to call him Maraviñas? Now we're just calling him Viñas, and that's it. And I feel like I don't want that name to just go away, and I want him to end up becoming this other striker that's like, yeah, one season wonder, because we've had too many one season wonders in his America side, or we have strikers in this team that can score the goals, but they're just inconsistent. They can no longer just hit those double digits. The last, like I keep mentioning, was Christian Chucho Benitez. That's the last I think we ever had that's hit double digits in a season, excluding the Liguilla. So it just would be nice for me to see Federico Viñas just get himself a goal in any way, or to just help out whoever gets the opportunity at goal. Whether it's just a pass, go for it. It's a good confidence booster. He gets himself involved in the play, whatever's going on that field. But for me, it's got to be him. If he can get himself a goal, 1 or 2, that'd be amazing for him. And then I feel like Solari, you can start trusting him more. If anything, if he wants to ever go away from that 4-2-3-1, start out a formation that has 2 strikes, and you can see Federico Viñas and Henry Martin up front, because I feel like they do have some good moments together, whether it's one they're going to be scoring the goal and the other assisting the other, or vice versa.
Interesting. Well, yeah, I do think if Viñas does get the start, or even if he sees minutes, I think he needs a goal desperately. So he needs to get that chip off his shoulder. But quickly, AJ, if Viñas does end up scoring a hat trick, will you cut your hair?
Oh, cut my hair, sure, yeah. Let's go with that.
There you go.
Ooh, that's the bet.
Is that
Ooh,
is
that's
that
the
like
bet.
is that real? Is that
It's a bet.
officially official? You're
That
gonna
is
have to
official.
find
officially a
it?
thing.
It's
All right,
official.
He scores a hat-
someone clip that. Scores a hat trick, and he's going
done.
taper on the side.
I was Solari Jr. because I got the hair going right here. I'm looking like Solari Jr. So if that's the case, well, I'm a little Diego Inez when he got the haircut when he first got put into the first team. So I'm gonna look like him.
Or something Naveda.
We have Christian go to AJ's house and just poison.
Oh, I record that. Yes, I can. You're right.
What if it's 4 goals? I don't know how you up that even more. I mean, it's not gonna happen. What if it's 4 goals?
4 goals.
Do it live. Yeah.
Do it
Ooh,
live.
we
Yes,
do it
do it
live.
live.
Yeah, do it live.
We do it live.
Look at this pawer that I have. What if it's 5 goals? All right, I'm just kidding.
You
Let me
say
go
like
on top-
the power
let
that
me
he
go-
has, but then
five
maybe
goals
he's
was well-
manifesting it for
Let
for
me
it to
just go
actually
to the
happen.
rooftop of the apartment building and this guy just screams something out. I don't know. See what happens.
But no, yeah, I want to read out something that Chris said right here.
course.
America needs to control the pace of the game. Move the ball around in the midfield, work on set pieces, catch Xolos when they're still in transition, because the counters can really cause a problem for us. And I think we can all agree to that, right?
Definitely.
So it's going to
Yes,
be an interesting setup, and we'll see. We'll see. Well, we won't talk about
this
what
comment-
happens if Chucho scores a hat trick, because I think we shut down the day that happens. Cesar, for you, what are the keys for Xolos to walk away with all 3 points against America?
I mean, I think what we've seen recently too is that it's not only just Guedes style that you've seen where they can throw numbers forward in the first 15, 20 minutes of the game, but he seems to have a decent backup plan now with Fabian Castillo. Because if we're talking about pace, if we're talking about counters, if we're talking about Xolos' speed, then you have to look at Fabian Castillo. And Fabian Castillo recently, he hasn't been a starter, but he seems to be so much more lethal, so much more efficient off the bench. And that's what he's been doing recently. And I think he's one of the best counterattacking players in Liga MX. And if it wasn't for his questionable decision-making and his bad shot accuracy, he'd be a superstar in Europe right now. That's for sure. But at the same time, he's a game changer. He really is a game changer. And for Xolos, even if they struggle for a bit, I mean, I think you can count on seeing him in the second half, and he's gonna add a lot of trouble to America's back line that second half. So that's something to keep an eye on. That's definitely a decent backup plan that Xolos is going to have in this game.
Definitely, I agree with you there. There's the reason why America was looking at him as well. So
Yeah, exactly.
He will definitely cause some problems, and so. Really, I think the keys are going to be in the defense. I think for both teams, and it's who can be as tight and rock solid on set pieces and everything really. So we'll have to wait and see. it does excite me because I do think we might get a bit of a goalkeeper battle here. Ochoa versus Orozco versus Ochoa. It's always been a fun one.
Yeah, I think that's the thing too. Is that like, I mean, a lot of Liga MX games, you look at them, you're like, I don't know if this will be that exciting. I don't know if this will be that good. But honestly, I think with the progression that Solari and his like players have made in recent weeks, that that big win over Pachuca recently, where they definitely should, honestly, like, they probably should have had like a 3 or 4-0 win in that game, and especially after pushing away any of the issues of the you guys getting 3 points taken away, and to respond to that by getting a convincing win up against the Xolos side, which are looking pretty good, which seem to be trusting into Guedes' system. I think this is genuinely going to be a good game. I think this is definitely going to be like a very, very exciting one. So I'm not just saying that because it's, I keep a good eye, a close eye on Xolos, because they're nearby, but I genuinely think this could be a good matchup. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely the game to watch, and hopefully everything we just said kind of happens on the TV. Because since we'll sit here and say this is gonna be a roller coaster of emotions, and this is gonna be a showstopper, and it's like a 1-0 victory with like a 77th minute goal, and nothing happened after that.
And don't make it end up like that game from it was January 24th where it was 0-0 away, and the only exciting thing that happened was a referee took like a good 2 or 3 minutes trying to decide, is it a penalty for America or not? Everyone's just looking at Twitter. Is it? They said no. They're like, I'm turning the TV off then. Bye. Good night, everyone. I don't want that to happen again. That was like the only exciting part. So
don't worry. I think we'll have some more excitement on that. But all right, gentlemen, I think we've pretty much covered it all here. So Christian, tell me, are we betting the house on this game? Yes or no?
I like to say yes. I think America has the right tools, and I think Solari will have the right game plan to attack this. So yes, I do think that you should bet the house.
So what are the odds? What are the Vegas odds here?
Is this a metaphorical house or your own house?
Well, no, this is
he's definitely he's saying all of our listeners should put their own house on this game. So if 75% of you come back homeless, I apologize deeply because you listen to Christian.
Oh man. But actually, you want to know something very interesting right now? FanDuel actually has Tijuana as the favorite to win tomorrow at plus 155. So America's the underdog tomorrow, according to FanDuel.
So basically, Christian's saying, bet the house, you're going to win a new house if America wins.
In a sense, yes.
You buy everyone the houses if they end up winning then. So
people are moving out of cities right now. Market's hot, It's like...
There you go.
Exactly. But gentlemen, before we kind of cap this off, I want to hear you guys' prediction. And Cesar, it's only fair if I start off with you. What is your prediction for tomorrow's game, Xolos versus America?
I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. I think you're going to see a lot in the attack from both sides. I think Xolos have done a little bit of, they've been, you've seen a lot of good and bad from them so far this season. Luckily, it's been a little bit more good, and I think they've had some lucky moments that have, hidden some of those more negative moments. I do think Fabian Castillo is going to have an impact off the bench. I do think that things are really starting to click up top for them, especially with Sornosa, connecting with, Manotas and also Fidel Martinez. So I think they're going to get a couple opportunities. I think they're going to capitalize on them. And at the same time, I do have some serious worries for them defensively, especially on that right-hand side for them, especially against America. Maybe against other teams, I wouldn't be that worried, but I think they're going to run into some complications. But I don't know, I think it's going to be a good game. I would say I was leaning towards 2-1 America, but I'm going to go with the 2-2 draw just because of Xolos' form recently.
Nice. Okay. 2-2 draw.
Betting no houses.
No houses. No houses, though.
No houses.
Very
though.
Smart man.
Very smart. Yes, very smart.
AJ, what is your prediction?
I'm going with the 2-1 victory for America.
All right. AJ's putting the house on the line. Go ahead, Christian. What are you? What are you saying?
America.
2-0 America. You think we'll walk away with a clean sheet?
Yes, in a brand new house.
And a brand new house all around. Which I will say this much: if we do walk away with a clean sheet and 3 points at Xolos, whether it's a 2-0 victory, 1-0, whatever the scoreline is, I will say colored me impressed because a year from now I didn't think that would have been possible with the defense that we had. Mm-hmm. But if Scott is able to make that a possibility, I think that's definitely something to applaud, especially with like we keep mentioning, this defense doesn't get the praise that it deserves, but we wanted to keep it that way because the more they get to work in silence, the better that they improve week in and week out.
Definitely. Because right now, technically, we have 7 goals against us, but we really don't. We only have 4, right?
Yeah.
So, and
Darn you,
that's we're the second best defensive team in the league right now. But those 3 extra goals just push us up all the way high. So I think let's just keep it that way. You know, let's. I like that, Ivan. Let's just keep it quiet for now. You know,
just keep it nice and quiet. Yeah. Although every time you remind me, I'm just like,
oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I won't do that again. I'm sorry.
What is that guy's name again? Who messed it all for us? Never mind. It's not even worth mentioning him. Okay, well, he's going 2-0. I'm going 2-1 America. I think that we just nudge it just barely. I think that there's, it's going to be an equal balance game. I think both teams are maybe going to get 2 early goals in, and then I think America is going to find a way to nick another goal in and just completely go park the bus on Xolos. And, it'll be a scary moment, but, kind of like this whole season has been, Troy seems to bail us out throughout the last couple minutes of the match. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, we got Chris Rivera saying, he's going with a 1-0 victory, goal from Henry Martin. Fred Duran saying 2-1 victory as well for America.
Wait, hold on. Wait, you read it.
Read
the second part.
America 2-1 goals from Villas and Nevada. He says, I'm betting the car. I don't want to become homeless. I can take public transportation. The smart man right there.
I like that.
Betting the car.
Hope you don't live in California. That's a lot of buses.
Yeah. You can bet a sink or a toilet. You don't always have to bet the house.
Betting my toilet.
The toilet or something.
Try to explain to my family tomorrow why I'm uninstalling the toilet.
Exactly. Uninstalling it would be 9:00 for us. I said once that game is over. But in the East Coast, why is AJ uninstalling his toilet
at
after
midnight?
So if you bet a toilet, do you win a second toilet? Like you're just like showing up.
Well, considering we're underdogs,
I get a second one.
Listen, a toilet can get you a new shower.
Get an upgrade.
Get an
upgrade for a house
shower.
utensil, anything.
Yeah.
Or one of those talking toilets. You ever guys see the movies where you just talk to your toilet?
I saw Bob's Burgers about that,
but there you guys have it. Whatever utility you guys want to put the money on, it's your guys' call. We don't AJ's having a good time right there. Will AJ get a haircut? We'll never know. But I think we pretty much wrapped it up here. Anything else you guys want to add on in regards to America versus Xolos?
I just hope Fidel Martinez doesn't become the Ecuadorian Neymar like we saw back then in FIFA 13. This man have 5-star skills and think a 5-star weak foot. He's disgusting. So may he not turn up and obliterate America's defense. That's all I ask for. That's all I ask.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, you always see those kind of tweets online, like, when was it? Like, I think whenever we play Mazatlan, they put Real Madrid and purple jerseys. Like,
Mickey did that tweet one time where he was.
So who would Xolos be categorized? I mean, who wears black
AC
shorts?
Milan. There you go.
Yeah.
No, we have stripes. So that wouldn't count. Well, who knows? We'll find a top European giant that fits the Xolos criteria.
Valencia from Costa Rica.
That's another. No, don't worry. We have Conca Champions coming up. Don't worry though. We have Conca Champions. Cesar, anything else to add on?
No, I mean, thanks for having me, guys. Always good to chat. Liga MX, Xolos, irresponsible betting. For all irresponsible betting, head over to Wall Street Bets. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just mess with you guys. But seriously, thanks for having me, guys. And take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Yeah.
No, yeah, definitely. Thank you again, Cesar. It's an honor always to have you on. It's always great fun. to Christian, to AJ, thank you guys so much. To everyone that was listening to us and everyone watching, again, thank you guys. Means the world to us. We'll have you guys covered tomorrow with this Xolos game live on Twitter. We'll be live tweeting everything. Christian's got you guys covered for that matchup. Tune in Thursday as we're joined by Miss Cari Torres from the Lions Den podcast, and we'll be previewing that game on for Saturday's matchup. And then, of course, join us on Friday as me and AJ will be talking all things Lady Águilas, and we'll be recapping that amazing win in the Clásico Capitolino. So, plenty of stuff. There is no days off here on the EY podcast, is there, gentlemen? So, it looks like we have a pretty stacked week all the way running. Not even till Sunday, because Sunday there's a game as well. So, yeah. Lots of stuff happening. Again, thank you, Cesar, for coming on. Again, to everyone, thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful time. Please stay safe out there. Wear your mask. Do all the social distancing, and we'll be back next week to talk things all things Las Águilas del América, because of course we have the Clásico Nacional to look forward to as well. Okay, so you guys have a wonderful time. Until next time, take care, and as always, Arriba la América. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was another production of the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 source for all things Club America in English. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Eagle Eye Podcast and get all the latest news and coverage. And subscribe to our podcast wherever it is you may listen.